The day has come. Birth control has been prescribed. We're starting today, which is actually great. I don't think I've ever started birth control on a Sunday. So that's cool. It's satisfying instead of having to put the sticker on. But the name is Esteria. And of course I'm taking my rituals prenatal. So we'll take those. Cheers. And that's it. So the flow's been flowing. The cramps have been cramping. The clots have been clotting. So it's been hard. I've been really fatigued and tired, in pain, uncomfortable, all the things. But y'all keep praying for me because it's hard. It's very hard, but this is what I prayed for. You know, you can't pray for things regardless of what it is and not expect there to be a work that has to be done, that there will be I don't know if suffering is the right word, but like that there's going to be things you have to endure and see through, because the blessing will come in due season. So cheers to birth control. Y'all know what time it is. We just got to the fertility center. My appointment today is appointments are at 1:30 and 2 o'clock, but we have to get here 30 minutes early. So it's almost 1 o'clock right now. And I'm getting 2 ultrasounds done today, an SIS ultrasound, it was a fluid, like saline ultrasound, and then an HSG ultrasound, which is like when they inject dye. But I'm not going to get into all those details right now. I'll go home, make another video, and then put some cool images and descriptions up on the screen for you guys. But before my appointment, I do have to take 400 milligrams of ibuprofen, which is nice that they reminded me to do so, because when I did the HSG, when we were trying to get pregnant with Ari, I remember walking back to the car and like almost fainting. So Billy's here. Shout out the cameraman today. Billy, he called it my designated driver. Just weird. But yeah, so Billy's here. Praise the Lord. And just a thank you to everyone who knows about my appointment today, that's prayed for me, that sent prayers up to heaven for me. And those of you who follow me on Instagram, just thank you for your kind words and your encouragement. It's greatly appreciated. But yeah, so I'm going to take my ibuprofen and then we're going to head up. I don't know if we're going to be able to record. I might just be able to throw some pictures in there for you guys, but we'll see. If anything, for sure, I'll just make another video after about how it went, if I'm able. I'll probably just be in a lot of pain, so.
The Lord is my shepherd. He goes before me, defender behind me.
Okay, so There is, for this one, there's a bit of radiation exposure, which I don't remember, but now it makes sense. So it's just gonna be me, so I'm not gonna record, but I'll let you guys see kind of the situation. So I will keep you guys updated after the appointment, once me and Billy get back to the car. So, peace. Ari's in bed, Billy's at work, and I've got some downtime to finally kind of recap you guys about the ultrasounds I had earlier today. So like I said, I had 2 ultrasounds, an SIS ultrasound and an HSG ultrasound, which, like I said in the last clip, it's one of them has radiation exposure. So I couldn't have, since I was doing them both back to back in the same room, I wasn't able to have Billy in the room with me as a guest or a support person per se. So that kind of sucked. But anyways, so Billy had to wait for me. And I don't know what it was like being in there, but I was like rushed by this like wave of fear. I was like so scared, because I just felt like alone kind of, and it like probably a mix of having to do so many of my appointments by myself. When I found out I was pregnant with Ari through IUI, while Billy was deployed. And so I did a lot of my appointments by myself. And so it kind of probably bought a little bit to where I was like planning to have him there with me, and then to not have him with me was kind of a lot. Anyways, I let you guys know that I would kind of give a little blurb or some little blurbs about what ultrasounds they were. And I think it'd be helpful for the other women in the community who are starting this journey for the first time. And as scary as it can be to educate yourself, sometimes I find it better to be a little more ignorant, but at the same time, I wish I would have known some of these things were coming up when I was doing IVF and or IUI, like really any type of fertility treatment, because you can expect it to be hard, but your mind can't even begin to wrap around how difficult and how invasive the processes are, and how hard it is on your body, on your partner, and all of that. So buckle in if you don't want to learn about the ultrasounds and the details and all that stuff. Skip forward, but if you'd like to stick around, cool, I'm gonna get into it. So an SIS, the first one I had, stands for a saline infusion sonogram, also known, so your doctor may call it a sonohistogram, which is a pelvic ultrasound that uses saline to create images of the inside of the uterus. During the procedure, so what they'll do, of course, they'll put you in the stirrups, they'll insert a speculum, and then they will insert a catheter. That will be the vessel for the saline. So they'll inject the saline into your uterus, and the ultrasound will record the shape and structures inside your uterus. So it can help diagnose conditions such as uterine fibroids, polyps, scarring inside of the uterus, an abnormal shape of the uterus, and uterine cancer as well. And so the best time to perform an SIS is immediately after your period or within 10 days. In my case, today would have been my last day. Today would have been day 7 for me, so I did go in today. And you can definitely expect to feel some slight cramping after the procedure, but so with the SIS, like, you can go on about your day. Like, the cramping isn't anything abnormal of, if you do cramp during a menstrual cycle outside of like that cramping, like, it's not anything that would be reason for, I guess, I don't know. Like, I personally think like menstrual cycles period are a reason for rest, but hey, here we are. But at the same time, you could experience obviously some leakage from some residual saline, and then light spotting as well, just from having the speculum, the catheter, and just the saline in general. Like, your body's just going to want to expel all of that, so it's going to do whatever it has to do, or what it believes it has to do. And then as well, you should avoid This is for the SIS and the HSG, so you should avoid sexual intercourse for at least 2 to 3 days, and including anything else in the vagina. So like no tampons, no menstrual cups, no menstrual discs, all of those things, like nothing in the cooch. Okay. So that is the SIS, which for me is like easy breezy. All right. I could do a SIS every day. Every day. It's uncomfortable, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't hurt. Like I said, like the cramps aren't anything that aren't, at least I guess personally, like if you don't actually cramp during your cycle or whatever the case may be. But if you've been pregnant before and you've had like the fire crotch, like the little lightning crotch, the SIS is nothing. Okay. It's a little like, versus the lightning crotch. However, the HSG is is mm, is the final boss. Okay, I will say that the HSG is the final boss. Um, I remember with Ari. Again, I don't know if I've already shared this in my earlier clip. I really do a bad job at rewatching um, my clips that I record already before recording the next part. Anyways, I'm gonna tell the story if I've already told it. If I haven't, great. Now you get to hear it for the first time. When we were trying to get pregnant with Ari, I got an HSG, and that was the last time I got an HSG ultrasound. Um, and it nearly caused me to faint in the parking lot on the way back to the car because the cramps were so painful. I got so dizzy, and yeah, it was just 0 to 10. Do not recommend. Going alone at least. Again, like it's a part of the process. I personally am not denying it. Like I just know that um I have difficulties. Like if I felt I didn't need it, I wouldn't do it. But like at the end of the day, I trust my doctors very much. I trust the specialist that I work with very much. Especially since I've already done this once with them, technically. So I am willing to go through with this. Um, Sorry. Anyways, an HSG ultrasound. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to say this. Is a hysterosalpingogram. I think I said that right. Anyways, if I didn't, moving on. Um, is an X-ray procedure that uses a contrast dye to produce images of the uterus and fallopian tubes. So it's primarily used to assess female infertility by evaluating the structure of the endometrial cavity and the patency of the fallopian tubes. So with this one, same thing. So if you're doing yours back to back like I did today, they'll of course remove the catheter that was used to inject the saline. They'll reinsert the speculum again to reinsert another catheter to which the dye will be injected through. So the dye is injected into the uterus and then flows into the fallopian tubes. X-ray images are taken at various stages of the procedure to assess all of the following: the filling, the uterine shape, the tubal patency, I think I'm saying that right, and peritoneal spillage. Um, it can also help identify issues in the reproductive anatomy that may prevent pregnancy, such as blocked fallopian tubes or irregularly shaped uterus. It can also provide information about scarring or adhesions. Um, so, on the other side of it, if you are allergic to iodine, I don't know what the other option would be, but it's an iodine based dye. So if you have an allergy to iodine, and you have an idea or a thought of or desire to pursue IVF, I would talk to your doctor as soon as possible or once you reach this stage, um, on what are the other options, instead of an HSG ultrasound, obviously, because you never want to put yourself in a situation like that's just not medically sound. That's not like, don't, it's not worth it. Because the HSG ultrasound as it is, not being allergic to that, is painful, and uncomfortable, and yeah. Yeah. Um, so But to prepare for this one, so this one's a little different. So to prepare for an HSG, you should avoid unprotected sexual intercourse from the first day of your period until after the procedure, which, people, you roll how you roll, but hey, just saying. Um, and then same thing with this one, like you don't want to have no intercourse or anything in the vagina for 24 hours minimum. Because again, like your nethers have just gone through crazy chaos. Like all these things have been inserted, removed, injected, all this stuff. Like it's just very, as is, it's a hostile environment down there, and it's even more hostile now. So just like give her a little break, okay? Give her a little break, let her breathe, and then carry on. But yeah, I remember the HSG ultrasound. That one was like crazy. But however, I felt significantly different this time around than I did with getting pregnant with Ari. Like I said, when I got the HSG almost 5 years ago, I think it was, or over 5 years ago, because I got pregnant with Ari in July of 2019. I was in so much pain. I was dizzy. And again, it could have been like a miss by the doctors to for me to take ibuprofen. I might not have ate enough that day. Like I don't remember any of that. All I remember is nearly passing out in the parking garage, walking back to my truck. But this time around, I ate a light meal. I took 400 milligrams of ibuprofen, and I prayed. Obviously, me and Billy prayed. And there are a lot of different factors that I'm very aware of at this moment. Um, and I felt fine. Like I felt like uncomfortable. I felt pressure. I felt like cramping. I'm still having a little bit of cramping, but nothing nearly as miserable, as painful as the first one. And again, it could be because I've already, had all these things done in my cooter, um, or not, but definitely, you know, it is what it is. But the test, I was watching the X-ray, and this one, from what I can remember, again, I don't remember too much. It was a long time ago, um, and there's so much that's happened in between now and then. I remember the dye floating a little more freely and being able to be seen a little easier through my tubes than this one was. I felt like it took a while for the dye to get into my fallopian tubes. So again, the doctor hasn't called back with my results or to talk over kind of what they were able to see and all that stuff. So I should be getting a phone call tomorrow, I think. So of course I'll come back on and share all of that. But if you are on your TTC journey or you're trying to conceive journey, and you found my channel, even if you aren't doing IVF or IUI, I think it's very um, like good things to know. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're going through trying to conceive, like you begin to find other women that are going through all these things, and just to have this like pocket knowledge, to be able to support them if they're at the point of their journey of going through IVF or going through IUI. Just because these are real things that you will reach in your journey of IVF if you've never done it before. Um, and it's ugly, like it's an ugly process. It's painful. Um, but you're not alone. Like I struggled a lot, especially with my IUI. Like I kind of felt detached from my nurses, my doctor at the institute that I was at in Hawaii. They were amazing, but I was so in my head about myself and just like wanting to do it on my own and wanting to be strong, especially since Billy was deployed. Like I just felt like I had to hold it together, and if I didn't, or if I asked a question, then it was like I was going to lose control. Pretty much what it came down to. But this time around, I think I've been better about asking more questions and just kind of being more vulnerable with the doctors and just being able to ask them, because so many, even today, like before my ultrasound, they were like, all right, do you have any questions? I'm like, no, I'm good. But then literally as soon as, like, they fix my legs up on the stirrups, the lights go out, the speculum is in, and then it's like I'm losing my mind. Like I was crying both because of how painful it was and in the moment, and how much pressure there was, and then I was like scared. I was so scared. Um and but like in that moment, that's when it's like, when they ask you, "Hey, are you okay?" Like, yeah, ultimately, yeah, I'm okay. I don't know, maybe we need to change the questions that we ask. Like, yeah, I'm okay. I'll be fine. But like, no, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, it hurts. And I think that comes with like your was it like your threshold of pain? Mine's pretty high. So, um, hashtag trauma. Anyways, but like also with this part of the journey, like we're getting one step closer to, another transfer. And I think I push a lot of it in the back of my mind. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll just focus on this and not push it in the back of my mind, but instead of worrying so much about, like, oh my gosh, like, what if I have another miscarriage? What if we, like, what if we can't even transfer again? Like, getting in all this worry, right? Like, and that's the enemy, like, creeping in. The enemy only knows what's happened before. Okay, so like the enemy cannot tell you your future. Anyway, so like the whispers like are just like when it comes to like thinking about, oh my gosh, like this is gonna happen. What if I miscarry again? What if we can't even transfer? What if we do, like, all of these thoughts start racing, and it's like that's the enemy trying to like whisper to me about my future. But like the enemy has no idea. The enemy has no idea what's coming for me. The enemy only knows what's happened to me, what I've thought before, and like he can only use the same things I know against me. Okay, so I can either lean into that, which it's very easy to do and very like slippery slope to do, or I can take those thoughts captive in my mind and hold them up to the words of the Lord and see what is true and what is not. So like at the end of the day, like the scripture I shared, so like Psalm 139 5, he goes before me and he follows me, he places his hand of blessing on my head. And so what I can sit in and what I can rest in is that God has already attended every appointment that I will attend from here on out for the rest of my life. Okay, not just with IVF, like for the rest of my life. God has already attended and sat in the waiting room, sat in the doctor's office, sat like he's already attended every appointment. He's already seen every result, written every result. So like at the end of it all, I can rest in knowing that God has gone before me and he will follow me. So in the same way that he's already attended these appointments, in the same way that he's already written and knows the results, he knows every emotion and every ache that happened today and will happen tomorrow. So like now he's going before me and he's following me. So like he's with me at every point. Every point. He will never leave me nor forsake me. And so in that sense, like I said, like I can either listen to the enemy and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna miscarry and like it's gonna be so scary. And it will be scary. It is scary. I'm very scared. And because the more procedures we get, the more appointments I take, the more the medications change. Um, the closer we get to that point of true surrender, the closer I get to the point of redemption, the closer I get to what could be devastation. Because I want to say this, and I want to say this loud and clear. And there are women who are on their trying to conceive journey. There are women who have gone through IVF and succeeded. There are women who have gone through IVF and failed. There are women who cannot even have never seen a pregnancy test in their life. There are women who have taken and received many pregnancy tests and have yet to hold a baby in their arms. And as sensitively as sensitive as I want to be, I want to first speak boldly and the truth. In my situation, in my personal situation with IVF, we were able to, we had 5 embryos make it. So we in total, after our egg retrieval last year, or actually, sorry, not last year, in 2022, we had 5 embryos that made it. We transferred one in our last cycle of IVF, and it resulted in a miscarriage. So we now have 4 embryos left, 3 normal, 1 abnormal. And again, please hear me. And there are women, I want to speak to the women who are still in their hurt, who are still in their anger, who are still in their confusion and frustration and blame. Of why would God take my baby from me? Why can't I get pregnant? Why can't I, but really living in that anger in that season, because I remember being there too. And if somebody had said this to me or around me and all of that, I would have lost my marbles. But again, in my personal IVF experience and in my personal one-on-one walk with Christ, I know deeply in my heart, and I am rested in it, that even if we were to go through IVF 4 more times, if we transferred every single embryo and none of them resulted in a viable pregnancy that I would be able to carry to term and deliver a healthy baby, at some point I would be okay. It would not be right away. It would not be, that would be insane to say. It would not be right away. However, because my 4 embryos there are 4 lives. I have 4 other children. Unless they are placed, whether through me or another woman, if I choose to donate them, if they are not transferred, even if they don't make it to term, there is no possible way for me to see them in heaven. And I want nothing more. So right now, I am a mother of 6. And on that one sweet day, if I had, on that one sweet day, again, whether or not the embryos are carried to term, I will be reunited with 6 of my kids. But if I do not do my due diligence after retrieving eggs and fertilizing them and getting now to this point of embryos, if they are not carried, and I want nothing more than especially to be carried by me, if they don't make it to term, I at least got a moment with them and they were able to make it to heaven. They cannot make it to heaven from being frozen. And again, if anyone had said something like this to me right after my miscarriage or even approaching IVF, I would lose my marbles. And so I understand. If you're not receiving this, I get it. I promise you I understand. But again, This is in my own experience. This is in my own conversations with the Lord. This is in my own, like, hearing my own response from Him. And, like, I just find rest in it. Like, as scary as it will be, I am at peace. I am at peace. And again, being at peace and knowing the end are different than our flesh. So, like, I will be hurt, I will be devastated, and it will be hard, and I will need to be surrounded by prayer. I will need to be surrounded by family, by love, by food, by warmth, by. But the only way I can find rest and find peace is because I know the truth and I know the end of the story. The end of the story is I will gain my wings and have 6 children beside me one day. I will have 6 little people up there dressed in white on golden streets singing songs. And so yeah, that's all I got. I've done tangent enough. But yes, I will, as soon as I get those results, if I get them by tomorrow, then they'll be in this week's vlog. If not, it'll be at the beginning of next week's vlog. But yeah, so I love y'all. I love you. I love you. Yeah, so we'll hope for and pray for good news, good results, promising results that will allow us to progress in the process. But yeah, I think that's it. Peace, y'all. Love y'all. I need you to help me, cause I just wanna be